Well, it's now Saturday lunchtime and I've mostly caught up with my sleep deprivation. I think it's going to be a few days actually before I really fully recover and get back into a normal sleep pattern. So when I changed direction at Abergavenny, I instantly felt the benefit of the tailwind. In fact, it was quite steep, the first section, very scenic, but as I was riding up quite steep hills, I'd get out the saddle and it just felt like the wind was pushing me up there like a sail. Huge relief actually, although I knew it was still touch and go whether I'd finish within the time allowance. I was always going to finish the distance regardless, barring accidents or illness, but it was quite important to me to finish within the time allowance. I'd set this goal and I really was quite serious about achieving it. So I just decided not to film that day. I would prioritise getting back to Bath, hopefully within the time allowance. I did take photographs quite sparingly. The first section was really scenic and there was a sunrise along there, midsummer's day, so that was absolutely fantastic. The other memory about riding that section were there's some red kites hovering, clearly circling looking for some food, and because I was up almost at their flying level, it felt like they were almost right alongside me, and you really grasp just how big they are actually. So that was really interesting. Then I got to Devil's Bridge and the road from there over to Rayada was extremely scenic. It cut across a very spectacular road into the Elan Valley, but it was absolutely very hard. I no longer had the wind benefiting me and the road surface quite poor, so the steepness was quite a challenge because I was no longer getting the benefit of the wind. Then I stopped and had breakfast at a garage on the main road, which was really welcome. Then I seemed to make really good progress to Llandovery. Just before I got there, I got another attack of the dozies and I just had a 15-minute power nap right by Sugarloaf Station actually, before the steep plunge down into Llandovery. And when I woke up, I realised I'd slept through the summer solstice, which was 7 minutes past 11. So somehow that felt appropriate actually. Then I got to Llandovery, slightly in a quandary because that section to Llandovery was so wind assisted and beneficial. I was starting to wonder if the A40 section across to Abergavenny and Monmouth would not be as beneficial as I hoped. And at first it seemed like I was hitting a crosswind, but I just sort of put my head down and got on with it. And all the time I was trying to make calculations with the Garmin time remaining, comparing it to my watch with actually how much time was remaining. And most of that stretch I sort of had about a 2-hour buffer. I started to gain confidence without becoming complacent, and then after Abergavenny, the section across to Monmouth, it just got really hard again. I must have changed direction slightly, the wind was buffeting me from the side, the road surface seemed to be really bad. I think the fatigue started really kicking in there. And then from Monmouth, the section along the Wye Valley was easy once again. Even the climb from Tintern up to Chepstow felt really easy. As I crossed the Severn Bridge, I was pretty confident then I was going to sort of get back in time, barring mishaps. There's a final climb up to the A38, and I remember stopping there, taking a picture of the A38. It kept me going for quite a few hours actually, remembering crossing the A38 near Lichfield, what seemed like days ago. In effect, it was only a matter of hours really. And then I think somehow mentally or physically I just switched off then, because whenever I reach that stage in the past, I always feel it's all downhill to Bath, so it's actually quite almost feels like a free ride home from there. I always tend to think of it as a bit of a lap of honour. This time it just, like I said, I think I just switched off mentally and physically, and it was just a struggle. I didn't enjoy it at all. I just suddenly started feeling really tired and groggy, and my 2-hour time buffer suddenly sort of started evaporating away. And as I got close to Bath, I actually started thinking I was going to run out of time. It wasn't until I got on the bicycle track into Bath, I actually then pretty sure that I was going to finish within the time allowance. I actually started hallucinating really strongly along there, and it wasn't really scary to be honest, because like the rational part of me was sort of, I know this is hallucinating. I was actually quite enjoying it. I know that sounds a bit perverse, but I actually was. A couple of the hallucinations were really vivid. Any cyclist will know that when you ride along and the sun's quite low to either side of you, it quite often casts your own shadow. And I quite often take photographs of that. I was riding along the bicycle track, and it's quite a narrow strip of tarmac, and either side there's quite sort of high vegetation, and so my shadow was right alongside me, but it just seemed so three-dimensional and almost lifelike and almost breathing and pulsating. It was quite bizarre actually. Not scary like I said, but just bizarre. And it probably lasted no more than about 90 seconds, but it was left quite a strong impression. And then as you enter the last stage into Bath, there's a lot of tree canopy which almost forms like a tunnel of vegetation, and it was starting to darken as I was going along there. This was approaching 10 o'clock, and instead of all the vegetation and bracken sort of being green and brown, it was all blue and gold for some reason, and there was all these like distorted shapes. It looked like disfigured carvings of animals, or I just don't know what. And as I approached them, I just sort of see all it was where the light was coming through slightly and just casting different shadows. So that was another really quite powerful memory. It's probably not a good thing to experience too often, that sort of hallucination, but it's left quite a strong impression. When I got home, I was just so relieved to get home, and I did say I was going to stitch the files together and just confirm I had done the distance. By then I convinced myself I had managed the distance. I was just too tired to even do that. In fact, Linda, my darling wife, who I was really longing to see after a few days away from her, even had to take my shoes off me. I was that wrecked. I got in the shower and it was literally straight to bed. And yesterday, Friday, was mostly just sleeping actually and recovering and sorting a few little bits of business I needed to attend to. So that was the end of the ride. So did I enjoy the ride with it being so hard? On balance, yes I did. Were there times I wished I was at home in bed? Yeah, of course there were. It never fails to amaze me just how far you can push yourself when you think you can't go any further. Just somewhere you find that extra strength from. So the highlights had to be for me the change in scenery and the landscapes, and just the passing through all the different counties, especially on the first day where it just appeared so rapid. Another one of the big highlights was the longest day, the Tuesday. After dark, I was tiring rapidly, yet I really enjoyed that section as it got dark. Even though I knew I wasn't going to get as much sleep as I really wanted, actually the thought of arriving at Premier Inn just really somehow kept me going. It's hard to describe, but just riding through country lanes, navigating by like an invisible signal from a GPS guiding you almost through quite complex and dark lanes, not really knowing where you are, completely unfamiliar surroundings, just feeling like almost this invisible hand is guiding you. That just really does blow me away, to be honest. And then once again, the track just ended outside a Premier Inn in its car park. I think I'll always be blown away by that technology. The other really nice memory was I used filling stations a lot to pick up supplies. I know it's not the cheapest, but they were definitely the most convenient for me at times. And just the people behind the counters just been so friendly, because obviously I'm not a natural customer there. You would imagine it to be motorists. A cyclist going in a bit sweaty, not buying petrol, you sometimes feel a little bit out of place. And there was a couple of places where they were really interested in what I was doing, and one guy, I have to sort of pay tribute to him. He went out of his way to fix a coffee machine because it had stopped working just as I went to buy mine. He was really cheerful, he was interested in what I was doing, he didn't make me feel a nuisance at all. And I've got to say that coffee on that night, I think it was the night from Newtown across to Abergavenny, that probably saved the ride for me, to be honest. And I just appreciate that guy's kindness so much. So that's about it for this adventure. So as usual, I'll say thanks very much for watching, and till next time.